Okay, so in this last video, I want to show you just one last useful command that's really helpful for processing different types of data as they're coming into your shell. It could be really useful for debugging certain types of things, so we'll talk about this. Before I show you this really cool command, I gotta show you a really simple command that I'm surprised I still haven't shown you yet. There's this command called echo. You can type a string, and it echoes it to the string. Echo is bash lingo for print. So whenever you say, how do I print something in bash, it's echo. Hello world, and we'll print that out. So we're gonna use echo a couple times in this example, so I just wanted to mention that. It's just a print statement. So this new command I wanna show you, the really interesting one, is this command called cut. Cut is going to help you kind of break apart some input into various parts and select things from that. So let me just show you. Cut takes its input from standard input. So I'm going to start by piping A, B, C, D, E, F. So that's echoing A, B, C, D, F, taking that standard output and piping it to cut standard input. And then I'm going to need to pass in a couple arguments to cut. So I'm going to say -C4, and it's going to print out D. What I just done here is cut, when I pass in -C4, grabs the fourth character from the input string. So since A, B, C, D, D is 4, there we go. One thing you might have noticed right away is that because I put 4 and that got the letter D, that means these strings are 1 base indexed. So if you want the first character, you pass in -C1. A bit weird that it's different than most zero indexing around the world of computer science, but it is what it is. We live with these conventions. So what we're going to do next is show you that there's this cut command for grabbing characters from a string. It's actually really flexible in the things that it allows you to pass. So for example, you can pass ranges of indices. So you can say, hey, grab me characters 4 through 6, pretty useful. And you can also pass in lists of numbers with commas, 1, 3, 5, and then it grabs those. So you get ace out of that. So cut, very, very nice for being able to extract single characters from, or multiple characters from a string. Now, grabbing particular character values at particular positions isn't the most useful thing, but it does get a lot more useful when you start thinking about structured data. So, I really am interested in data science applications, and so a lot of times when we talk about working with data, one of the most common formats is CSVs, comma-separated values. So it's a big thing about an Excel spreadsheet saved to a file where everything's separated by commas. And cut lets you handle these file types really, really well. The only thing you have to change is there's actually a couple things you have to change. You have to tell it what to split on. So -D is the limiter for what you want to split on. And so -D comma says, please split on commas. And then you say, well, which index do you want to select from? Well, I want to select from index 1. -F stands for field. It stands for which index in the split up data do you want to grab from? And so this grabs from A. To show you how flexible this is, you can have extra words here. A, E, I, O, U, B, C, D, E, cab, dog, elephant. Now I'm making up real words, fish. And this doesn't care about how long they are. It's just splitting on that comma and then grabbing the first index from that. And just like that, the 6 characters, or sorry, the characters 4 through 6, you can do the same things with fields. You can say, hey, grab fields 4 through 6, and it'll grab all of those. So this is a very, very useful type of processing for when you know there's structure in your inputs. So you'll have to use cut on your next homework assignment. It will be very useful for data processing. We'll see. Let me show you one last example, kind of similar to the one I showed you last week, which is looking at those CSE logs. So on Autu, you can access kind of these root directories. You can read most of them, but you can't write to a lot of them. But at the top, you can go to root, that topmost, that's like the top of the computer. There's a lot of random folders in here. There's a CSE, and then there's a web, and then a courses directory. If I ls in here, there's a directory for every course website here. There's one directory in here called logs. which has a bunch of access logs for when people visit the website. And these are things for like debugging purposes. Like it says like, oh, a Chrome browser at 2:52 p.m. requested this URL. This type of logging is very, very common everywhere. It really is helpful for developers to debug through things. Afterwards, these logs don't contain any personal identifiable information, but they can be really useful for helping figure out when something might be going wrong. And so I showed you really quickly at the end of last week that you can always tail, I don't want a cat common log because it's actually a really big file. You could see, let's do ls-lh, scroll up to where that common log is. So this is 46 megabytes of text, which is a lot of text. You can use the tail command on common log, and you can see what's there. And if you want a refreshing view, you can use tail-f. And so every time someone goes to a CSE website, like I can go to the CSE 373 website, or let's go to 391, then you can start seeing those pop up in the logs. Let's see. So it gets pretty nasty to look through all this because I think the CSE websites are a little popular, so it's getting really busy. So let's try to break this up and see just, what websites are being visited, because there's a lot of text here. So there's a well-known structure to these logs. Well-known meaning it doesn't change over time. I'm assuming, I don't know this off the top of my head. I just looked at the last example I did with this. I'm going to cut this up. The delimiter I'm going to end up using is quotes. And since quote is a real character in Bash, I got to escape it. And then I want to grab the fourth field from here. And this is going to grab all the URLs. So a lot of people visiting the 142 syllabus. And then we could see some people visiting 391, the homepage, and all of that. So really, really useful. And then, hey, if you wanted to go even further, you can then pipe this into grep to only look for CSE 391 pages, right? So this is the power of command lines, where you can take relatively simple commands, like on their own. Tail is very simple. Cut, a little bit more complex. Grep, kind of complex, but we've kind of mastered this a little bit from earlier. But you can get some, and it's not printing anything because someone's going to 391 right now at 6 p.m. on a Saturday. But you can start seeing, did I refresh the page? Oh yeah. You can start seeing how these relatively, maybe I spelled this, CSE 391. That's weird. Not sure why nothing's showing up. Anyways, you can see how tying relatively simple things together can get us a lot of cool outputs here. So hopefully you could see how you can apply some of these things, and hopefully you're getting, now they show up. Hopefully you're getting practice with this with your homeworks, and you can see how to apply these day to day. Okay, I'll see you all in class in class this week.